Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. My name is Peter Ortega, Miami YPN president. I would like to welcome you to the first of many Miami YPN and Raleigh YPN webinars. Today, we have a very special panel and presentation, List to Last, where we will be discussing how you can get more listings, deal with multiple offers, how COVID-19 has affected lending and appraisals, and so much more.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Fakhoury. I'm the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors YPN Chair. Welcome. We are very excited to do this webinar with the collaboration of Miami YPN. Yes, we are bringing you educational series. Also, we are facilitating networking opportunity. Please make sure to reach out to each other and connect. I want to give a special thank to the both side, the committee. We're working so hard and bringing this amazing individual. These panelists are one of the top-notch people that they're going to give us lots of information, lots of tricks, and lots of knowledge that we're going to implement it in our business. Also, I just want to make sure you guys take a note, ask question at the end, and make sure you have fun also today. Thank you so much. Bethany?
Now, I would love to introduce you to our incredible Miami YPN president-elect, Bethany Martinez.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to meet you and see everybody here. My name is Bethany Martinez, the president-elect for 2020. And I just want to say we did a great job. We recognize some really amazing people who were killing it during this season. And they are nice enough to share everything that they're learning and working on because, you know, we want to be agents that list to last, right? So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tiffany Williamson, who is going to be the moderator for the panel. She is a native of North Carolina, and she has over 15 years of sales experience. And she quickly grew by leading an office of over 40 agents and became the COO of a large real estate firm in the Triangle until she then expanded her own brokerage into Raleigh in 2018. She has a love for helping people, and she's super passionate about coaching, training, and mentoring. And she's also served on various boards, especially she was the YPN past chair, correct? The local YPN past chair. So Tiffany, it's so nice to have you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bethany. I appreciate you guys having me on today to moderate this panel. I am so excited to introduce these rock stars. I've been reading up on them and taking a bit of a deep dive into what they've been doing. And we've got some really amazing things to share with you all today. So without further ado, let's just get started. First, I want to introduce Jason Dapkevich. Jason has, I'm very excited to get a deep dive into the videos that you've been doing. They are amazing. Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself.
This is my 5th year in the business. I'm with Keller Williams at Briar Creek in Raleigh, and I was a former teacher before getting into real estate. So I felt like the transition was pretty easy, and now I'm just trying to stick with it. And like you said, trying to mix things up a little bit with video to get people's attention and to stay relevant, I guess you could say.
Well, you definitely got ours. Great job. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. And Ginger Peters. Ginger, pop on. Not a lot of you guys know this. I think I was telling someone about this the other day, but Ginger actually founded our YPN chapter at RRAR. I think you were the starting member, right? The first chair that we've ever had. Yeah. Well, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a huge part of my business since I started in real estate back in 2013, 2014. So thank you. But tell us a little bit about you, Ginger, and your business.
So I run a team, Ginger and Company, here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been in the business 10 years. It's flown by. And last year I was completely out of production. I had a little baby, so I stepped out of production. And as of this past month, I'm back in production and super excited to be back and face-to-face and back in the trenches. So,
yay! Well, we're glad you're here. All right. We also have Wesley Ulloa.
Hi.
Wesley. How are you? Thanks.
I'm good.
Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Been in real estate 14 years, so pretty much my entire, half of my entire life. I run a brokerage of 335 agents, and been practicing for 14 years and just going at it day in and day out.
Oh, great. I'm excited to dig into that as well. It's a great time to be in real estate. I'll tell you what, especially to talk about listings today. We'll get into that in a moment. But lastly, I want to introduce Banna Fakhoury. Did I say that right? Did I do good?
Yeah.
Okay, I was worried about that. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you so much for having me and everyone on here.
Absolutely. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
I am a Miami native. I reside in Miami Beach. I've been in real estate over 8 years now. I am the sales director for a real estate management firm. So sales, leasing, management, full service. That was just what I wanted to be as a realtor. I wanted to be like a one-stop shop. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now, over 8 years now.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to learning more as we get along. So let's just do it. How do you guys, and we can do this, if you want to just step up and answer this question, go for it. And we can just make sure everybody gets a turn if one has something to contribute. But first question we have here is, how do you prospect to get most of your listings? Like, what are you guys doing? What's been working? Any advice would be awesome.
I'll jump right in.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I decided to go back in preparation for this, and I wanted to give you guys some good data. And I looked at all of my listings that I've gotten in the past year, and the biggest chunk of them came from my sphere. What I do with my sphere is I actually send them gifts every 3 months. So all of my past clients and all of my big contacts that, I really want to build those networks with, I actually mail them gifts to their house. Just something out of the ordinary. I might be like, what I did recently was wine glasses and gift cards. And I was able to track 6 listings directly just from doing that. Wow. I also got a few listings from mailers. I've automated my mailers, my just listed and my just sold. And then I use a lot of referral companies for business as well. And then I get a few here and there that are buyers that turn into sellers.
Now, what system do you have in place to make sure that you are keeping track of those quarterly gifts? Do you plan that out for the year? Do you use a specific CRM to keep track?
So I made my own CRM, and basically I put everybody, once I close somebody, I put them in there, and then I mail all of them a gift. I have them rated by A's, B's, and C's. Depending on what their rating is how much I'm going to spend and what gift I'm going to send them.
Okay, gotcha. Good. Very clever. I love that idea. Great. Does anybody else do anything?
I'll join in. Yeah. So most of my listings are from my sphere as well, but it's also through social media. So sphere, social media, and I'm noticing a lot from my email marketing. So I just really try to get my face everywhere as much as possible. And now that with everything that's going on, I really focus on my online presence. So my website is in my bio link in my Instagram account, which gets about 100 or so clicks a week. It's on my Facebook, both my Facebook accounts, 50,000 followers like combined. So most of my listings have been through my sphere and through social media. And I try to get everyone's emails and they go into my email blasts, and then I reach out to them that way. And that's where I'm noticing a lot of my listings are coming from seeing my face everywhere. And hey, Banna, what do you think? How much this is worth? What do you think about this? And those little tiny questions have really brought me most of my business.
Oh, wow. And we'll have to come back to that, the 50K follower Instagram. That's impressive. I would love to, I would love to dig into that. We're going to definitely come back to that. Ginger, how about you? What do you guys do?
So our business is about 80-85% referral based. So we get a lot of agent referrals. I've put a strong focus on building that network and staying in front of our agent partners. And then similar to I think what Wesley said, as far as really loving on our past clients and our spheres. We have an inner circle program. So if someone sends us a referral, and even if we don't set an appointment or it turns into a transaction, we put them in our inner circle, which is we do a pop by for 3 months. Something's delivered on their door for 3 months after they send the referral. And it's usually something I saw today, they're taking out picnic blankets and some picnic stuff. So we really try to spend our money on the people that we have, that we know, like, and trust, versus like advertising for new business.
That's a great idea. And it's the picnic stuff, especially nowadays, going out to the lake and like actually enjoying the outdoors more than ever now. Everybody's wanting to get out. That's a fantastic idea. Jason, what about you?
Not to piggyback off what everybody else says, but I pretty much do the same thing in terms of pop buys. I try to do them at least once a month, giving them to all of my clients, I guess you could say. I'm not very good at doing the top tier, middle tier. So I give it to everybody. I think the one thing that nobody has said necessarily is client events. Before COVID happened, I wanted to do one every quarter, and that was what I was on track to do. And of course, COVID changed that. But once this has all passed, that's something that I want to re-implement back into, is just seeing people face to face. And like Ginger said, loving on people as much as possible to make sure that they understand that I appreciate them. And then hopefully they'll continue sending referrals.
No, absolutely. And client events are always so much fun. I was talking to someone on a interview a couple of weeks ago, and he just does a mega amount of business in Chicago. And the one thing he said is the client events, quarterly client events. I think that makes such a big difference too, seeing people face to face.
Yeah.
So Wesley, going back to what you were saying, sending out farming letters, and that really tees up the next question here. What are you doing, or tell us a farming program? Do you have anything specific in place, or any tips?
For mailers, I just want to make sure I heard you.
Yes, yeah, mailers, right.
So yeah, I do two big things. So I use a company called RSP Pro. Once I signed up for them, I don't know if they're in your guys' market, but they're down here. So they basically send me a postcard as soon as I list something on the MLS. They make it for me, and I just have to approve and buy it, and it goes out. And same thing when it closes. So I subscribe to that. So I just continuously have that going, and that's in my marketing budget for every listing, and it helps me get other listings as well. So I use that. They also have a farming mailer that they make for you with recent sales and everything. And then that goes to my specific farm area every 3 months. So I really hone in there. That goes to my farming area every 3 months. And then finally, I also use a few farming letters that I handwrite and mail them out. So I just did one in the last month, and I've mailed out 600 letters, and I've already gotten 7 calls from it. So I'm really big on tracking what I do as well to make sure, it's working. And I actually got that letter. I'm going to give you guys a little tidbit. She's in Charlottesville, Virginia, Sasha Farmer. She's amazing. A lot of my listing techniques I learned just from her, and I use them all the time. She shares it willingly. So you guys could Google her. I watched her like 5 years ago, and she's the best.
I agree with that. She is amazing. I've met with her before. She's very good friends with one of my friends that lives in Charlottesville. She's got all the tricks of the trade, I feel like. So. And
you said her name is Sasha Farmer?
Sasha Farmer. So think of farming, think of her.
All right, we'll have to make sure we get her on here too, maybe next time. What are some of the mailers that you've sent out that you feel like have the most ROI? Is it a postcard? Is it an actual like addressed like text style mailer? What do you think? And anybody? Yeah. So you were gonna,
I'll let you know mine. It's actually a letter that I got from Sasha Farmer. So that's the one that I just sent out, and it basically is like, which is true, and I added my own little spin on it. I'm like, I have buyers in your area. I'm the #1 agent on Zillow. You can look me up. These are my buyers. If you're interested in selling, call me.
Wow, that's great. And it's short, sweet, and to the point as well. I don't want to read something like so long and, have so much information. You kind of just want to, those definitely do work.
It's a little longer, but if you guys want, anybody who wants to send me a little email after this, I'll share you the letter, or you just look up Sasha Farmer and she'll give it to you for sure too.
Awesome. Yeah, Sasha's going to get blown up after this today.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone else? What do you guys generally use in terms of farming material? Anything that works?
I'll jump in if that's all right.
Please.
I do one specific neighborhood, and I only do 200 houses in that neighborhood. I think there's probably 350. And it's right across the street from my neighborhood. And that was on purpose, so I can be like as present and visible as possible. So I have a Dalmatian, he's right under me. So that's super noticeable. So he goes on all of the mailers that I do, whether it's like a just listed postcard, I do a monthly newsletter that goes on. I actually walk around and put it on everybody's mailbox. So I don't mail it. I put like a rubber band through it. It's really tedious to do and it takes a long time and it's probably not scalable, but it's, I think, effective. So like I said, I put him on the advertisements. Anything that I do, I walk him, I wear my sweatshirt so people know what my branding is. And then on top of that, I do like just closed, and then any type of buyers that are looking to be in that neighborhood, kind of like what Wesley was just saying, like reverse, prospecting and saying, hey, I have buyers. Are you guys interested in selling? And then that sometimes turns into a listing. So short and sweet. That was what it was.
That's great. And that's very memorable too. I'm a huge fan of just honing in on one thing and doing it really, really well. And then once you get that, you can move on and continue to grow that business. But, having your dog and for branding purposes, I love it. People, even social media, like the cat memes, the dog memes, they are always much more successful than anything like a human can say. So that's very, very smart. Anyone else? Yeah, well, I tell you, just to add to it, I sent out what you were saying, Wesley. I sent out a mailer that just said, hey, I have a buyer, which was true. And I got three listing appointments off of it. And one mailer, like, I think it was, 150 houses. So that does work. So if you're not farming, I think the key also is that's not going to happen every time. And what I tell my agents is we have to be consistent about farming, right? Yeah, I did send that. I was lucky. I did get 3 listings out of it, but that's not reality. Like every time you send out a mailer, I think where most people stop is not being consistent with whatever it is you're doing. And always, like you were saying, like look at track, make sure it's working, and then adjust as you guys go along. So speaking of that, what systems do you all have in place to keep organized?
Yeah. So I have a CRM. I use Follow Up Boss. Everyone in my team has access to that. We try to only use that system with showings, communication, everything. My agents, my 2 assistants all have access to it and all have the app on their phone. So everything is really, really organized with notes. My email blast is connected to that. We have a system in place for when a new listing comes in, she knows what to do. Seller's disclosures out, condo docs out, next transaction coordinator takes it from there, moves forward. We all work very systematically. So it's pretty much what I have in place for me.
It makes a difference. I'm also a huge fan of Follow Up Boss. I just started using them. I think Angie Cole mentioned it on a panel, so I looked into it and I am obsessed. So yeah, that's a good one.
So easy. Yeah, I'm even now using it with my email blast. I'm noticing, MailChimp used to be extraordinary for me. And that's really where I get most of my clients and how I just keep up with them. But I'm noticing a larger open rate and Follow Up Boss. So using your own CRM as opposed to the new pretty designs, I'm seeing a better return on. Nice.
Very cool. Awesome. Jason, what about you? What systems do you have?
I do not have anything that fancy. I just use a Google Sheet for pretty much everything. I have all the tabs down at the bottom from start to finish for whatever it may be in terms of, pre-listing to the very end. And that works for me right now. I'm just a one man doing it all on my own. So it's not anything too intricate or complicated. So. And
it doesn't have to be. If it works, it works.
Right.
Google Sheets. I used Google Sheets for a very long time. I'm still a huge fan of the Google spreadsheets and all that. So, hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Ginger, what about you?
So we use Commissions Inc. as our database. And then for transaction management, we use Trello. So our closing coordinator will take the Trello card once it's under contract and use that to closing. And then for our email marketing, we use Viral. So that's a video marketing company that we use, and they do most of our email marketing. For our client events and very specific email marketing, we'll just send those right out of Commissions Inc.
Okay, so it's kind of like an all-in-one base. Great. We are just starting to use Trello. Do you love it for your transaction coordinator? Yeah, I mean, I've heard such great things about it, so I'm excited to dig into it. Good to know. I may be calling you for some advice. Wesley, what about you?
Use a lot. My biggest thing that I actually use, it's similar to Trello, just not as visually pretty, is Podio. I've made my own CRM, and I'm just very task oriented. So anything I need to goes on that master list, and I just pretty much follow through that. And then I built my own database in there. So like all my past clients are in there, all that information. So it's kind of like a do-it-yourself. So I made it work for me.
Very cool. And hey, if it works for you and it's geared towards your business, that's the best system you can absolutely have. So now, one of the things as we were getting ready for this panel, we bounced around some ideas of some different questions, and one of the questions that kept coming up within the group beforehand, before we reached out to you guys, is calling expired listings and calling withdrawn listings, does it really work? Do you guys do that in your business? Have you had success with it?
Yeah, well, when I first started the business, that's what I was doing, calling expireds, doing all of that, making contacts. Even if they didn't want it, I just was creating a database. And that's what I built my whole business on, is having a nice database of people, and I can always nurture and go back to without, God forbid, Zillow goes away or whatever goes away. I always have a nice database there. So I started off doing expireds. I took a break from it, but I'm noticing a lot more. I'm noticing some expired listings in areas that I work in. So I think I might tackle that on again and start calling the expireds. I think it's a fairly easier sell. I don't know. I think a lot easier than how it used to be.
Yeah.
So I recently started a different way of doing expireds. I do a couple of things. So I don't actively cold call expireds just because I get enough business from referrals and other sources. But if I have a buyer in an area that and there's no inventory and I need specific inventory, first thing I started doing was actually texting expireds instead of calling. And I had better success. I actually last year closed a sale off of texting an expired listing, calling all these expired owners, got them to outreach to me, brought the buyers, sold the contract. I'm actually reselling another piece of land because of that same transaction too. So I got much better responses by texting. But in the realm that I do, and that's my historic homes, the cold calling isn't really effective. So I actually started a campaign, which is mailing them a really high-end, nice package, as soon as their property expires, and mailing them a personalized gift as well, and then doing an outreach. And I've been seeing better success with that. I just started that like 2 months ago, so we'll see where that goes.
Oh, great. We'll have to keep us posted on that.
So I've never specifically called expireds. For a few years, I did work for sale by owners pretty hard. Here in our market, things are selling, so the expired list is pretty short. But at the same time, the for sale by owners are out there. So I called those, had some success there. And like it was mentioned, it really built my database. Some of those for sale by owners didn't actually end up listing with us, but years later we were marketing to them and they came back around, or they had a referral. Just they liked their conversations with us and kept us in mind. So not currently doing that, but sounds like I should.
I know. Go ahead. Jason, go ahead.
No. I have. All I was going to say is I've never called expireds or withdrawals, so I can't really say much about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's not a practice that I have in my business daily either. But after talking with everybody about it. I think, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but I looked at the numbers earlier, and I know for Raleigh specifically, I believe we're down like 25% with our listings. So any expired listings that maybe even expired like a year ago, we need listings in this area. So that could be a good prospecting tool for those of you guys listening. But yeah, I mean, it's not something that I do either. I have heard success stories, like you were saying, Ginger, reaching out to for sale by owners, like on, the bigger platforms with an IDX search, and that's been successful as well. But we were just curious if anyone was doing that on a regular basis. So switching gears. Now, when you actually get the listing and you go to their house, tell us about your listing presentation. Like, what are the three things, the three must-haves in your listing presentation that you feel like just separates you from anyone else?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I think I break my listing presentation down into three sections. And that's kind of where I'll go, the three things. The first part is what I expect of the sellers. And I put a lot of emphasis on prepping the house and how it should look and how it's going to look in photographs and how it's going to look when showings start. I spend a lot of time on that, showing them photos and talking about the process of how we're going to make it look its best, because that's obviously most beneficial for them. Then the second part is what they can expect of me once it's listed, in terms of how I'm going to market it, what I'm going to do to sell it. And then at the very end, I just talk about how they can expect to potentially see their home be marketed and how it's going to play out in the market, basically, like what the market looks like, where their home's going to be positioned if we do this, or if we end up doing this, how that could help or negatively affect it. So just expectations in three different sections to make sure kind of we're all on the same page before they say, let's do this. So.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. So
yeah,
I pretty much copied Sasha Farmer's method. I'm going to be very honest about that. So definitely, guys, if you want to be a listing pro, you must watch her videos.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
I can tell you guys, it has helped me perfect my method. So my listing presentations typically take 1 hour in the door and out the door, always, right? I don't want to be, if I'm going below an hour, something's odd. If I'm going too long, this is not maybe the right fit for me, right? So I'm in there in and out in an hour. I pretty much break it down into three things as well. Really, I spend a lot of time at what I like to call prescribing, which is diagnosing and prescribing, which is getting to know this individual, what are their needs and expectations, and making sure that we're the right fit for each other, right? Then I really go into marketing, and what I do, I pretty much market the same level for a $200,000 house to a $2 million house. So yes, there are some budget differences in that, but it's pretty much the same presentation. The only difference is how I'm going to market the home, like who is the consumer that I'm going to be targeting, or what special things am I going to do for this specific home. That's the only thing that I'm going to really change. And then finally, pricing, so those are my three main sections on how I get the majority of my listings.
That's great. Thank you for that.
I'll chip in. So most of my listing presentations, like I do most of my work before the listing. So by the time I meet the seller or I even go to the property, especially during COVID, a lot of my deals have been absentee owners. So before I even do meeting the seller, I've already done most of my work. We've discussed terms, we've discussed price point, I give them a range and price point that I always say, the final price would be when I see it in person, obviously. But I do most of my work before. So by the time I enter the property, they already have an idea of what to expect, who I am. They already see my online presence. So it makes things run much more smoother in person. And when I'm talking to the person, whether it's on the phone or in person, I am more like numbers oriented. It's less about me and more about actually all about the property and the neighborhood and the recent sales. And I try to memorize about top 3 before I go in. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, 11B, your unit will sell for this price because the one upstairs had the extra 3rd bedroom. It was facing east as opposed to yours that faces west. So I try to have all these numbers in my head right when I'm meeting them. And that way kind of shows me some rapport. I let them know how many is for sale on the market, not only just for what's sold, because competition wise and the actual price point. So I'm more numbers oriented, and then I throw in some of me in the end. But I do most of my work before I even meet the client or when we talk on the phone, because a lot of these listings lately have been just me going to the property, and they're located in DC or they're located in Brazil, France, Paris, and I've been having to do a lot of my work, virtually. So things have shifted a bit.
Wow, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just a couple of things that I think we do that weren't mentioned. We, of course, spend a lot of time going over expectations of what can you expect from us, and at the same time, what are we expecting of you. We discuss the importance of not only how we're selling and marketing to buyers, but how we're going to sell and market to agents. We all know that most of the top agents are doing all the business. So it's really important that we're getting their house in front of the agents that have the buyers. So we dive into that as well. And then lastly, we do spend a good amount of time educating them on just how our team is structured, what they can expect as they, move from the listing agent to the listing manager and then to the transaction coordinator. So we just want to make it really clear on the front end, so there's no surprises there about how the team works. And then we dive in as well to, we use the promise script. So our goal is to, provide you a 5-star experience. And by the end of this transaction, our goal is for you to have referred someone. So we use that in the listing presentation. We use it all throughout the trigger points of the transaction up to closing. So
I love that. That's brilliant. Absolutely. Because, it takes 8 times for someone to understand what you're asking, or for something to click where they can think back to, oh yeah, this real estate agent's amazing, or, by name.
If we get to the closing table and you haven't provided us with someone, that's looking to buy or sell, we're going to ask what we did wrong and what we can improve on for our next client. So we're kind of putting a little guilt on them, like, hey, if we go to closing and you haven't sent us someone, we're going to ask, what did we do wrong? So it kind of keeps it in their forefront.
Oh, I love that. Nice. That's awesome. Very good. That's a huge takeaway for me. Okay, so we've got to move on here in a second, but one more question. I'm dying. Ask this. So you guys are all amazing at marketing and branding. Jason, I want to take a moment and talk about your videos. And then I want to talk about gaining followers. And if we can do this in probably less than 5 minutes. So Jason, tell us about your video first, because that's how we came across you. And it seriously was one of the best videos, your series and your branding. How did you do that?
That was just something, I don't even know how I came up with it. It was just an idea that I had. I've always liked going through luxury homes. I typically do it on my phone and just do a Facebook Live. And I just said, what can I do to take this to the next level, to start getting more recognition, and I don't think I've gotten that much more of a following, unfortunately, but it's something that I like doing. But I do think it's great to just feature certain things. And it's not necessarily looking for a seller or a buyer in that price point. It's more so just connecting people, because everyone likes talking about nice things in houses, or what they can do to update their house, or what the newest trend is to include in their home renovation. And so that's kind of what I tried to broadcast it as. And so it includes everyone, not just necessarily, oh, if you're looking for a multi-million-dollar home, call me. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Trying to step up my game. Like I said, I don't think it's really increased my following very much. I don't have 50,000 followers on Instagram, but it's more so just something that I wanted to do for myself, and to just, like I said, take it to the next level instead of just doing a Facebook Live. So
let me ask, how did you hire a film crew? Are you shooting some of it?
I used one individual. He's a wedding photographer, and we would do it 2 different times. So he would do 2 different angles, and then he would edit the entire thing and get it to me within 6 days. So I keep giving him all of the credit. All I did was walk through the house and, say how nice things were, but he was the mastermind behind the advertising and the creating and the elements of the video to make it, I think, what it really was. And so props to him. Completely owe him everything that I have in terms of that video, because he did amazing.
He absolutely did, but you also come across so well on video. I really felt as though I was watching HGTV or Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You've got that just personality. I mean, all in all, editing and you was amazing. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. We'll make sure we post it in the comment section here below. Now tell us about the 50,000 Instagram followers. How did you build a following like that?
50,000 combined followers.
Okay, well, still.
Yeah, I tried to, well, I started very like early on, like 8 to 10 years ago, building all the social media platforms. First it was Facebook. Facebook was number one. On my personal, about 4,000 friends. Then on my Facebook business page, I now have about 4,800. LinkedIn, I have about 13,000 now. Instagram, I'm about 12,500 now. I obviously want more on Instagram, but I kind of like having them dispersed on different platforms, as there's different kind of consumers and different kind of clients, buyers, sellers, even, you know, professionals on each different platform. So I try to use that to my advantage when I go to a listing, as that's something that not everyone has. And in South Florida with 65,000 realtors, how are we differentiating ourselves? And that's how, you know, your listing gets way more exposure, because I have all this, you know, followers, my email database, I have all these people looking at me. Sometimes I even provide insights like, look, I get 100,000 impressions just on my Instagram some weeks. My website gets, you know, this many clicks a week too. So in this day and age, people are really liking the online presence a lot. Like I shifted from mailers and all that because I just saw I'm more of an online girl. You know, that's just where I'm at these days. Maybe that's the area that I grew up in, or what it is. But it's cheaper, not cheaper, but it's a little cheaper. Social media is free. You know, the Google ads, I recently put some money behind it because I built now my social media to the point where I'm able to kind of leverage it. You know, it's hard to get into Google AdWords when your website is weak or when you don't have enough social media. But now that I've kind of built it to where I want it, now I'm trying to double down and take it to the next level. So I post content on every single platform. LinkedIn, I might be slacking a little bit on, but LinkedIn's a whole nother animal on its own. And it's like a baby that you kind of have to feed it all the time, you know, and kind of work your connections on there. But all my posts link to every single platform, and that way I keep it going. People see what I'm doing. So that's pretty much it. And I really use it more as a listing leverage tactic. That's what I use it for. Now, less to get buyers, obviously buyers too, but it's more to show my sellers what I'm doing. I'm more of a listing agent, so that's where I stick to.
And do you post the same content on all of the platforms, or do you post different content, for example, on Facebook as you would Instagram, or how do you usually forecast that?
So Instagram, I use more pictures and videos. And on my Facebook, I'm posting more articles, to be honest. My Instagram posts link to my Facebook accounts. So that's very easy for me. A one-click post, it goes. But I use Instagram more for photos and videos.
Okay. Do you utilize stories as well on both?
Yeah, we kill it on stories. Now that after 10,000 followers, you can do a little swipe up link. So what I do now is I have my BannaMiami.com. So I invested a lot of money into it. And so I'm using it now to its full potential. So now all of my listings are on there. So now instead of going to Zillow or MLS link, I'll go to my own website, click on the listing that I want to promote, put it to my Instagram story. Look what just listed 280,000, swipe up. They'll swipe up, it takes them directly to the link of a video. They can see it right then and there. We have now a COVID-19 safety tour. They can schedule the tour right then and there. It's all on my own platform. You can create an account. You can search for properties. So I want my clients to get off of Zillow and Realtor.com and just shift to me only for retention. So
which website platform do you use? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk to them too. I just saw a sponsored ad post from them, and it was my website. I was like, it's Agent Fire. Agent Fire.
Thank you.
Really nice. It's a real estate website. They know what realtors need. It's pretty affordable too. So I totally recommend checking them out. Maybe we can negotiate something with them, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I have to move on right now. I wanted to ask you guys too, Ginger, we're going to come back to that. And Wesley, I have to move on now to lending so we have time for everybody. I said to Alyssa earlier, I was like, I just get so into like hearing everyone. I'm so slow to move on. So I'm trying to do better. So let's see. I want to introduce quickly one of my favorite people, Jimmy Hedges. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been doing mortgages since 2009. I'm currently with Southern Trust Mortgage, and yeah, I'd love to share anything I can with you guys.
Awesome. And Yousif Mohamed.
Right.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey guys, can you see my video?
I can't see you. There you are. Perfect.
There we go. How you
Hey,
doing?
tell us about yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Yousif Mohamed. I'm at the Fit Lender on Instagram. I am a local mortgage lender here in sunny Miami, Florida. And yeah, looking forward to sharing some cool tips and tricks with everybody.
Well, tell us what has changed in the lending world since COVID, like back in February?
Sure, Jimmy, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. One big thing I think it pertains to everyone who's a realtor on this call is we are looking at self-employed borrowers a lot more closely, and there's additional restrictions on them since COVID and the economic downturn. So one thing I just want to notice, they're going to be picking you apart a little bit more than normal. They want to look at your tax returns. They're going to want to look at a P&L statement. If you don't have an audited P&L, which nobody does, they're going to want to actually look at bank statements showing your business income continuing. So they want profit and loss showing what you've made year to date and going to say that, hey, I want to show the income stream to prove that too.
Yeah, I agreed with all what Jimmy said. When it comes down to where lenders always look at credit, income, and assets, and simply put, the guidelines are a little more strict now. So you want to be careful with any clients that you've had as a realtor who's been pre-approved in the past, and make sure they're getting reapproved and keeping up to date with all the constantly evolving changes. Every single day, we're seeing new announcements from Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, jumbo guidelines. So everything's changing on a daily basis. So it's important for us to stay in tune with whoever you're working with as a lender and communicating all the different changes to our realtor partners as well.
And one thing you guys can help with us on too, it's a big one. So there's additional requirements for employment verification towards the end of closing too. If you guys hear about anyone getting furloughed, reduced hours, or laid off, tell us ASAP, because we can a lot of times work with people to make things work. But if we don't find out till the day before closing, it can be hard. So just, you guys are, you people on the street, you're hearing what they're talking about, what's going on. Just don't let them sometimes try to put one, like fly under the radar.
Yeah, and I want to say one of the biggest lessons I learned in the lending world, my first year as an entrepreneur, I think I definitely was engaged, and we were getting married the next year, and we were about to buy a house. So first year dealing with taxes, I took off all of the deductions. I'll never forget it. And I went to go get a mortgage, and because of my adjusted gross income, because I took so much deductions, I didn't realize that it went against the adjusted gross income. So talk a little bit about that with like entrepreneurs. Now we're like fanatical about making sure that that's where it is every year so we can buy the things we want to buy. But as a first year entrepreneur, I didn't know that. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're self-employed as an entrepreneur, or if you're, if you're getting commission income, anything that's variable, they're going to want to see that 2-year history of it. Now, if you've been in the business a while, we may only need 1-year tax returns. So talk to your lender or your, your trusted partner, and just see, hey, what am I going to need to show? Because a lot of times I can help you just say, look, I know we can write off the whole world. Your life is your business. I get it. But where do we need to be? So keep that AGI where we need it so you can make your goals happen. So just communicate with your partners. Yeah,
exactly. And just to echo off that, self-employed income can come in all shapes and sizes, whether you're a Schedule C type of borrower or you're an 1120S, corporation or something like that. So the way income is calculated is very specific to a mortgage. So you want to make sure you're getting pre-approved in that particular case, but also keep in mind that it's 2020 and there are a ton of different options for you as well as a self-employed entrepreneur borrower. So we have things like bank statement loans, things like debt service loans. So there's a lot of different avenues and options you can explore. So although the best option is always going to be a conventional loan, if for some reason that just doesn't fit in your bucket, it doesn't fit with your business model or your lifestyle, then know that different lenders do have different options, and consulting with somebody, Jimmy or myself, to open up the door to other possibilities can help you go and become a homeowner if you think you might have gotten denied at a big bank or somebody might have told you otherwise.
Yes, I wish I would have done that the first year that before I filed taxes, 100%. So tell us about what you're seeing, like in terms of credit score. I know, as you were saying, you need to have credit, assets, and obviously income, right? So what if you've got income and assets, how low can your credit score be potentially? What could you work with?
So right now, it's basically each bank is kind of making a little bit of their own rules. Traditionally, and before the pandemic and before this, we were basically agency guidelines. We would lend as low as any specific program would allow. But our institution right now has instituted a minimum score of 640. That's hopefully temporary. You want to get past that right now, but you got to talk to your lending professional and know what their rules are, because there's some people that won't go below 680 right now. We're going down to 640, and there's still some people going down even lower. It just depends on what your institution is comfortable with. So just talk and communicate.
Exactly. Yeah. So, our basic standards have always been FHA is a 580 FICO, conventional loans are a 620 FICO, and jumbo loans are definitely above a 620, sometimes as high as a 680. So as of right now, Movement Mortgage has implemented a 620 bottom across the board for FHA and conventional loans. We do have options though, just like we were talking about earlier, broker options that can go lower. So if you do have a borrower that does have below a 620, know that the terms are going to be a little more aggressive and you're going to have to come in with a higher down payment and your pricing might not be optimal. But I've done loans as low as 500 FICO during the pandemic, for certain borrowers, not necessarily within our agency guidelines, but within broker channels that we have here at Movement Mortgage. But you want to keep in mind that a 620 FICO, or like Jimmy said, conventional agency guidelines are going to be 620 or above. In his case, it's 640. In our case, it's 620. But there again are certain options for borrowers who are below that currently.
Very cool. That's good to know. And are you seeing a decrease in jumbo loans since February?
Not so much a decrease in appetite. Maybe some higher income buyers are just waiting to shop or buy right now. But we're actually seeing just a lot of the, so a lot of these jumbos are broker channels, or we have parties that we know and they go out and purchase them from us. They've actually decreased going through us. There are a lot of those are trying to keep them in-house and trying to keep them, a little bit smaller. The amount of volume right now is making it hard, and they don't necessarily need us to funnel that volume into them right now.
Yeah. So all jumbo loans are investor products because they don't fit into any agency guidelines. So investors set their own requirements. And personally, I do a good amount of jumbo business, and I have seen a smaller appetite from the investor side, which means that guidelines are increasing to reduce the buyer pool. So there are more strict guidelines now. Debt to income ratios are more strict. Credit score requirements are a lot higher than they were. So there's a little bit more of strict requirements, but they're still available, 100%.
And how long do you think, these stricter guidelines will stay in place? I mean, I know that's such a broad question, but, from your experience, any advice on that?
Yeah, so I've been talking a lot with the CDC, and we know exactly when the pandemic's going to end.
Good. This is what we want right here. Exclusive, guys.
All jokes aside, it's very unclear for sure, as you can imagine, Tiffany. But every single week we're seeing looser and looser, guidelines and restrictions being lifted, and products coming back and things like that. So we're in a very good spot right now. We're in a very good spot in terms of product diversity. So almost anything that was available to borrowers a few months before the pandemic hit is currently still available. Except for certain nuances like down payment assistance programs or low FICO jumbos, things like that. But for the most part, it's really, really important to stay in tune with a loan officer that you know and trust, because they're going to be able to give you much better information than what you're hearing in the market.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking time to pop on today. We appreciate it. And if you'll sit with us, we're going to have time for Q&A at the end, and I'm sure we'll have a question or two come your way. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Now we are going to move on and speak with two appraisers. We have Warren Sumner. Hey, Warren.
Hey, Tiffany. How are you?
Good. Do you have pants on?
I'm neither confirming nor denying that.
Oh, that was a joke before we got started, guys. So, Warren, tell us a little bit about you, and then we will turn it over and meet Moody. But tell us about you.
Well, I'm a broker as well as an appraiser, so I've been R&Ding with Ginger and Wesley and some of these other fine folks. And R&D, of course, stands out for rip off and duplicate. So I'm going to be definitely stealing some ideas from what I heard earlier from my broker business. But
definitely,
I've been an appraiser for 21 years, and have worked the triangle for 20 of those. So lots of gray hairs ago, I started this mess, and it's seen a lot of changes in that time in 2 decades.
Oh, we're looking forward to hearing some about it. And hello, Moody. How are you? This is Moody, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good. And I just want to tell you, so I obviously have never met you before, but I have heard amazing things from the folks in Miami. When we were talking about putting together an appraisal panel, I mean, everybody was just like singing your praises.
I'm so honored and humbled to be here with you guys with so many experts. So I'm happy to be here. I got to tell you, I was recently in your neck of the woods. I was in North Carolina a week ago. My sister serves in the Army, and she's stationed now in Fayetteville. And so I went to visit her, and I saw your beautiful state, and go Tar Heels.
Yeah, well, that's up for debate, but yes, there's a lot of options here.
Moody just lost half of the. Oh.
NC State, go Pack. But yes, what were you going to say, Warren?
He just lost half of his cheering squad there.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Hey, it's all right. It's all right. Come back and visit anytime.
Okay.
Well, one of the hot topics is, especially now, and I can speak for like Raleigh. Obviously, we've got low inventory, so houses in lower price points are selling very quickly, which leads to potential appraisal issues. What would be helpful for realtors to leave you guys? I mean, is it helpful for realtors to leave like a package showing you the comps and the upgrades and all of the things about the house, or any advice?
Yeah, let me chime in here real quick. I love a prepared realtor. I mean, and every appraiser is like different. Some are more outgoing. Usually you find that appraisers are more introverts. I think Warren and I are the exception. Not a lot of people like to do this type of stuff. But I love a prepared realtor. I love when they give me packets and they're involved. Obviously with COVID-19 right now, we've kind of taken a step back. Our protocols have changed. We're showing up with masks and booties and gloves, and we're telling them, listen, stay home. I like an empty house. Hopefully, things will change and we'll get back to some normalcy. Because I love it when realtors bring me a package. And what I like to see in there is, a survey. I like to see, if they have floor plans. I like to see a cheat sheet. If there is a sheet with all of the upgrades, renovations, and, when those things were completed, those things immediately help me to do a better job in writing my appraisal. And just really reflecting what those characteristics are and what was done, so that you can compare apples to apples. As far as comps, me personally, yes, if you're the expert in the area, if you're farming the area and you know things, you may have knowledge of something that's going to be closing. Hey, keep an eye out for this. If you have comps and you want to tell me, look, we based our numbers off of these comparables, I'll take a look at it. Some realtors are very well informed of what we're looking at, comps within the last 6 months, proximate, similar in square footage, within 20% livable, GLA, similar in characteristics, pool, waterfront, stuff like that. Some realtors, they aren't. I had one recently that gave me 6 comps, and they were all within the immediate neighborhood, but they were all like over 2 years old. So, everybody comes to the table with a different set of, experiences and what they know. So, it's okay. I just accept it, and I kind of move on. I tell them, I basically preface, I say, listen, I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to use these things, these comps, but I will take a look at them. I give them the courtesy. So yeah, to answer your question, I love a prepared realtor. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Warren, what do you think about that question?
Well, I couldn't have said it any better than Moody just did. I mean, it's always good to know kind of what the mindset of the seller and the buyer were, and having the packet with all that information in front of you. Any information is good information, and whether we end up ultimately using it in an appraisal, The one thing I would say is there's a difference between a sale and a comp. And I think that some realtors struggle with that. I mean, you know, if you're going to challenge an appraisal, don't do it with stuff that sold 5 miles away. Don't do it with stuff that sold over a year ago. Know what the appraiser's regulations and the guidelines that we have to follow, because ultimately the decision is made by the lender's underwriter of whether the appraisal goes through or not. Sometimes these appraisals you're seeing may be our second or third draft. So you have to take into account that, you know, the appraiser isn't the judge, jury, and executioner out here.
Good to know. And any advice that you guys have for agents to help us help you? Obviously, the packets, and I'd never included a survey. I'm going to start doing that. I do put together packets for listings and buys, but that's one thing that I'll start including. But anything else that we could do to make your jobs easier?
I think that realtors would be very well served allowing us to be your bad guys for you when you're pitching a listing. Get a pre-listing appraisal done before you put a house on the market. And that's going to save you from a lot of heartache and distress down the road.
I agree with that, especially if it's all like, you know, depending on where the seller comes in at, that is always a great option. Absolutely.
I basically wholeheartedly agree. And of course, you know, as an appraiser, that's how we make our money. So, you know, I'm biased to that, Warren. But I agree with it, because sometimes it's a good idea for the realtor to remove themselves from the pricing. You know, sellers, it's all a mind game, in my experience. I haven't been doing it as long as Warren. I've been in the business for 18 years as an appraiser. But, you know, if you remove yourself from pricing the property, you can rest assured that the seller will say, okay, this is a real objective, you know, like, what is the value of the property? And then let's price it to sell, so that we're not wasting each other's time. You know, when clients, you know, sellers are interviewing realtors, and, you know, they come with their CMAs, you know, I think that they get an idea, but some realtors may want to lowball, which, you know, leaves money on the table. You know, and then there's the flip side, which are the yesers, you know, the realtors that just yes everything just to get the listing. You have to have a backbone. You don't want to necessarily do that, because, you know, the days on market are just going to go by and by, and it's going to become like stale bread, and, you know, and everything has a shelf life, and it's going to just, you're going to waste your time. So I think that it's very important for realtors to have an appraiser that they can go to and talk to and say, hey, Warren, hey, Moody, like, you know, can you guys like help me with this? Like, I want to get an idea, you know, and it's important to do that, I think.
100%. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, because ultimately what ends up happening, that in my experience, what I've seen, is if you take that listing at a crazy price, they're going to end up listing it with a different agent at the price you suggested in the first place, and it will sell. So do the work on the front end. I agree 1,000%. And Warren, like you were saying, if they are, you know, if the seller is still uneasy about it, always bringing in an appraiser on the front end can most certainly help kibosh that. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking time to be on our